Imagine a world where the line between astronomy and alchemy, science and sorcery, wasn't just blurry, it basically didn't exist. A world where some of the greatest minds of the age weren't just looking at the stars, they were trying to, actually harness their power. We're about to dive into the absolutely fascinating and very hidden world of medieval Jewish astral magic.
And get this wasn't some fantasy novel. For a brilliant group of medieval Jewish intellectuals, this was a serious, scientific question. They were convinced it was possible to literally draw down the power of the cosmos, to influence life right here on Earth. We're talking healing the sick, predicting the future, all of it. So, how in the world did they think they could pull that off?
Well, the practice was called astral magic. And you should think of it less like waving a wand and more like a kind of spiritual technology. The core idea was that stars and planets are constantly beaming out this spiritual energy, this emanation they called ruhaniyat. And if you had the right knowledge, you could actually capture and direct that energy for specific, practical goals.
And this process was incredibly methodical. It was definitely not guesswork. It followed three very distinct steps. First, you had to observe the heavens to find the exact alignment of stars you needed. Then, you'd create an effigy, a physical object that would act as a kind of cosmic receiver. And finally, at the precise, astrologically perfect moment, you'd perform a ritual to literally draw down that stellar power into your object, channeling it into the real world.
But as you can imagine, an idea this powerful didn't just exist in a vacuum. Nope, it sparked a fierce intellectual battle that raged for centuries. At its core, this was a massive clash between two totally different ways of seeing the universe.
And the entire controversy really boiled down to this one single explosive question. Were these people uncovering some kind of divine, ancient science, a key to understanding God's universe? Or were they crossing a very dangerous line into idolatry, the worship of graven images, which was a huge no-no?
So the debate split into two clear camps. On one side, you had the believers. They saw this as a vital, sacred science that fit perfectly within their faith. And on the other side, the skeptics. They argued it was a dangerous illusion that threatened the very idea of one God because it gave power to the stars. For them, making a talisman was pretty much the same as bowing down to an idol.
So, let's dig into the case for magic first. And you can't talk about that without talking about their most famous and, honestly, most mysterious champion, the 12th century scholar Abraham ibn Ezra. This guy was a total genius, a master of grammar, poetry, biblical commentary, but he was also deeply, deeply invested in astrology.
For Ibn Ezra, the universe was this nested system of power. It flowed down from God, through the angels, to the stars, and then, finally, down to us. He believed that a wise person could learn how to tap into that cosmic chain of command, using the stars like a conduit to receive a great power from on high.
And this is where it gets really wild. He applied this idea in some pretty radical ways, even rereading the Bible through this lens. In his commentaries, Ibn Ezra hinted that key parts of the Bible were actually all about astral magic. The tabernacle in the desert, he saw it as a device for channeling celestial energy. The golden calf, not just idolatry, but a botched attempt at astral magic without God's permission. He was careful, though. He hid these ideas in hints and codes, believing this was a secret science only meant for a select few.
Okay, now for the other side of the argument. Standing in total opposition to Ibn Ezra was the towering figure of Jewish rationalism, Moses Maimonides. And he saw this entire thing as fundamentally flawed, dangerous, and, well, he wasn't afraid to say so.
Maimonides' main critique was philosophical. He basically argued that any truly perfect scholar, someone who understood both astronomy and physics, would know that this magic stuff just doesn't work. Any supposed effects were just random chance, not predictable science. For him, believing in it just showed you didn't understand the basic laws of nature that God himself had created.
But Maimonides was also a pragmatist, so he made a very sharp and important distinction. On the one hand, you have forbidden idolatry, things like astral magic. For example, wearing a special lion-shaped talisman made it just the right astrological time to cure a kidney disease. On the other hand, you have permitted medicine, or segulot. Things like using a specific herb that you know through experience actually helps that same illness. From Maimonides, one was pure superstition. The other was just good, observable science.
So, with Maimonides' powerful takedown and the very real danger of being called an idolater, well, the practice of astral magic couldn't really stay out in the open. It was forced to go underground, becoming even more secretive and esoteric than it already was.
And the threat was very real. To openly push for astral magic was to risk everything. This forced its supporters to write in even deeper codes, embedding their ideas in commentaries on top of Ibn Ezra's already cryptic work. It truly became a science of secrets, passed down from trusted teachers to their students.
But here's the thing. Maimonides didn't end the debate. He just changed it. For centuries, thinkers wrestled with this tension. Some even tried to merge the two views, suggesting something really fascinating. Get this. Some argued that maybe Maimonides secretly knew astral magic was real, but he publicly slammed it to protect everyday people from its dangers, hiding its true meaning for the philosophical elite. Just an incredible idea.
Ultimately, this whole medieval struggle over the power of the stars isn't just some historical curiosity. It forces us to ask questions that are still incredibly relevant. What do we accept as true? How do we tell the difference between a repeatable, natural law and a deeply held belief? In our own age of information and misinformation, the core question is the same. Where do we draw the line between faith, science, and superstition?